what's it called? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sean, and today I am doing the mid-year book freakout tag. So let's get into it. Question 1. Best book you've read so far in 2022? My favorite book in 2022 so far has been In the Lake of the Woods by Tim O'Brien. I recently read and reviewed this on my channel, so go check out the review if you'd like. It was my second book I've read by Tim O'Brien after reading The Things They Carried last year, and I really enjoyed this book. So that is my favorite book so far of this year. Question 2. Best sequel you've read so far in 2022? There is not a lot of sequels for me to choose from. The only sequels I've really read would be The Alchemist's Apprentice by Walter Moores and A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. My favorite between them? Clash of Kings. I really like and respect George R.R. Martin's writing. As a writer, I know how much work he had to put into this and keep everything together. All these different characters and storylines and the description he uses. He's just a really talented writer. So I really respect his work for the Game of Thrones series. So A Clash of Kings, book 2 in the Game of Thrones series, or actually it's Fire and Ice series by George R.R. Martin. That is my favorite sequel so far of 2022. Question 3. New release you haven't read yet but want to. I didn't think I would have an answer for this because I don't read very many new releases. I don't keep up to tabs with what is coming out. But the new release I am most excited to read would be The Devil's Sea by Dirk Kussler, not Clive Cussler, because Clive Cussler passed away a year or 2 or 3 ago. So this is the first book officially fully from his son, Dirk Kussler. So it's going to be a bit different because for the other books that they co-authored, I had to kind of judge it by what I knew from Clive Cussler's writing, what I expected from Clive Cussler. So this is the first one where I can solely judge Dirk Kussler's writing. So I'm excited to read that. Clive Cussler's Dirk Pitt books were massively influential for me for both my reading and my writing. Question 4. Most anticipated release for the second half of this year. Okay, this is one of them. I do not really have an answer. The only book I really check for new releases, and I don't know if or when it's coming out, would be the next book by Gail Honeyman, who wrote this book, Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. I love that book, and ever since I read that, I've been wanting to read the next book by her. And supposedly a new one is coming out, but I don't know when. So if anyone knows like details about what that book is, when it's coming out, let me know, because I definitely do not want to miss that book. Whatever book comes out by Gail Honeyman next, it's going to be an automatic buy for me because I just love that book. So I don't know if it's coming out this year. I don't know if it's coming out next year. I don't know if it'll ever come out. But Gail Honeyman's next book, that's the book I'm most looking forward to reading. Question 5. Biggest disappointment. This would be another book I recently read or tried to read, but it would be down here, Tom Wolfe, The Bonfire of the Vanities. I did not know anything about this book going into it, so I had no expectations. I've heard of it before, but I just hated this book. I did not last long. I think like 12 pages was all it took for me to DNF it, and I just utterly hated it. So that would be my biggest disappointment, is Bonfire of the Vanities, Tom Wolfe. I hoped I would like it. I had no expectations really, but still somehow he let me down. Diggest. Question 6. Biggest or diggest surprise? This is a pretty easy answer, and it would be The Sweet Hereafter by Russell Banks. I am somewhere about halfway through it. It was on my 22 books to read in 2022. I did not know anything about the author, except this book is on the top 1000 list by James Mustich, 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die. And I got a signed copy of his book, The Reserve, solely just taking a chance on it because I love signed books. So I was like, he's a top 1000 author. I'll get it. Just take a chance on it. And I read this book, or I put it on my to-read list this year, really just wanting to get it out of the way, because I did not really expect anything. I was, in fact, expecting just not to like it, because I've never heard of it, no expectations, just Russell Banks? Who the hell is that? But this is a pretty good book, so this is my biggest surprise of 2022. It would be this year's Tim O'Brien. Last year I was really surprised with the things they carried. This year the biggest surprise would be Russell Banks, and since I like it so much, there is a chance Russell Banks could also be an automatic buy author. So Russell Banks, The Sweet Hereafter, that's my biggest surprise so far for this year. Question 7, favorite new author. I would be split on this one. Either Tim O'Brien, because In the Lake of the Woods was a good book, so he had The Things They Carried, which was real good last year, and then he had In the Lake of the Woods this year, which is really good as well. It would be either him or Russell Banks. Those two right now are the authors that are like most impressing me, most becoming automatic read authors, wanting to read everything they've ever written. So those two authors this year have really climbed the ranks in my favorite authors list. Question 8, newest fictional crush. Sorry, none. I don't really read many books with like love stories so much. Or even if I do, I probably just DNF them so early on, I don't even get into it. So I just don't really read too many books with love stories or whatever. Or couples or love triangles or whatever. So I just don't really have any books to choose from, so none. Question 9, newest fictional character. This one would go to, I think his name is Theodore in The Alchemaster's Apprentice. I think Theodore is like an owl, but he's kind of a dyslexic owl. But instead of being like dyslexic in terms of reading, he is kind of dyslexic verbally. So he mixes up his letters and his words. It was just really amusing to read his books. And I just love the way Walter Moore's has the letters all scrambled up and the words all scrambled up. And still they make sense. And I just love it. So he would be my favorite character so far this year. Question 10. Book that made you cry. Sorry, none. Question 11. Book that made you happy. This would be kind of a weird answer, but I'm going to go with What's Wrong with Sports by Howard Cosell. And this book is about scandals in sports, like drugs, racism, and, other stuff, gambling. And those aren't exactly happy, feely-good stories. The reason it makes me happy is because the book is signed, and I'm such a sucker for signed books, and Howard Cosell is such a legend of American broadcasting, especially American sports broadcasting. He is kind of the god of broadcasting for sports, and just to have this personal connection with him in a way, since it's signed, like having something from Howard Cosell, that this book passed through his hands, and that's just really cool. So it gives me kind of a personal connection with Howard Cosell, and by extension like Muhammad Ali, and those two were just a perfect couple. The perfect duo in the perfect time when like racism was such a big issue, and so you had this black heavyweight boxer who's the champion of the world, and you had Howard Cosell, who is this really kind of prickly, unlikable broadcaster, and just the way Muhammad Ali and him got along, and you could tell they just really liked each other and respected each other, even loved each other. So just to have these two real prominent figures, black and white, who just really liked each other and really got along, I think they were just the perfect couple for the perfect time. So I really enjoyed reading it and just having that personal connection, having it autographed. It's just so cool to I feel more of a connection with him, and he's a legend of broadcasting. So that book made me smile the most for that reason. Question 12. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. My favorite would be this book, The Devil's Sea. It's just such a beautiful cover, and I love the colors, and it's just cool. It really pops, and yeah, so I just love all of Clive Cussler's covers, really. So that would be my favorite book cover so far. Question 13. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? Okay, there are a few books on my 22 books to read in 2022 list that I have not finished this year. And they are The Firm by John Grisham. Have not started it yet. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I am about 30% through with it. Next is Graham Greene, The Power and the Glory. I am about 15-20% into it. Richard II by William Shakespeare. Have not started yet. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey. Also have not started yet. Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. What do you know? Have not started it yet. Zola by... oh no, Germinal by Emile Zola. Have not started it yet. Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt, and this is signed. Have not started. The Sweet Hereafter by Russell Banks. Over 50% into it and enjoying it pretty well. Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. Have not began it yet. Treasure Island by R.L. Stevenson. I am somewhere around halfway into it. And Kidnapped by R.L. Stevenson. Have not started it yet. So those are the books I need to finish by the end of the year to complete my 22 books to read in 2022 list. Will I ever make it? Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, that is it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Go Hawks.